The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.
Welcome to the bonus show. We spoke earlier in the week about the Green New Deal. We looked at the 14-page proposal, looked at exactly what it wants to do, what the timeline is. We discussed whether or not it's a concern that it doesn't outline exactly how it should be paid for. And I mentioned that in the House of Representatives, it's co-sponsored by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. In the Senate, it's co-sponsored by our senator here in Massachusetts, Ed Markey. And there's a funny sort of irony that is going on. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced earlier in the week that he wants the Senate to vote on the Green New Deal. Now, you might hear that and say, wait a second, the Green New Deal, it's not specific policies. It's not really an actual map of specifically what should be done. It's more aspirational and general in nature. Why is the guy who doesn't want voting on all sorts of different proposals to avoid or end government shutdowns? He said he wouldn't bring this to a vote. He wouldn't bring that to a vote. Why does he all of a sudden want to bring the Green New Deal to a vote, even though even just saying I'm in favor of it in the Senate wouldn't actually do anything because it doesn't contain specific policy proposals? That's exactly why, Pat. Mitch McConnell is playing coy and he's playing politics. It's abundantly clear to the left and right that the 14-page Green New Deal proposal is a framework. It doesn't include barely any specific legislation that would be enacted. And so the idea of bringing this to the floor of the Senate is twofold. Number one, it's to show that as far as he's concerned, it doesn't really say anything actionable. And more importantly, he wants to start putting some Democratic senators who recognize the sort of vague nature of the deal on the record as either saying, I support, I vote against, or simply abstain. This is, if you imagine the definition of playing politics in a dictionary, it's this. It's bringing this to a vote in this particular way.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell is trolling here. He's often quite good at that. And I think it's smart for him to do, honestly, because I believe the Green New Deal is contentious even among Democratic lawmakers. Like, certainly the progressive ones want it to pass in some form. Not this one necessarily, because it's just a framework, but at some point in the future with more specific goals laid out, ways to actually get to more jobs and less carbon emissions. But in this current form, that's not going to be the one that's going to happen. And I think he realizes that it's going to cause some Democratic infighting, and that's what he's going for here. I'm actually curious, though. I do want to see which Democratic senators are going to vote for it and which ones are going to vote against it.
Yeah, I have some questions as well. And of course, it's a non-binding resolution. So no matter what your vote is, it's spin, right? I mean, it's all spin in the sense that if you're a Democrat and you vote against this Green New Deal non-binding resolution, and then you're criticized for it, you say, listen, I am 100% committed to greening the economy, jobs, and fixing the issue of climate change. I didn't feel that that proposal actually got us any closer, so I voted against it. But here's my plan for how I would actually do it. Okay, you can respond that way. Let's say you vote in favor of the Green New Deal non-binding resolution, and then you are criticized and people say, why did you support a piece of legislation that did nothing and had totally unrealistic goals? And you say, listen, I voted for it because I wanted to show how important it is to deal with the issue of the climate. I know that it didn't have a list of specific policy prescriptions, and I don't care. My point was to show my support for the issue, and now we can go ahead and work out how to do it with individual pieces of legislation. Like, whether you vote for it or against it, you can wordsmith your way to any perspective on the climate. And that's why it's playing politics. Although I agree with you, Pat. I'm curious how some people will vote, including those in the Senate who are running for president in 2020.
Yeah, and I actually kind of like that it's vague at this stage because it has absolutely no chance of passing. Even if it got through the House, it wouldn't get through the Senate, wouldn't be signed by the president. And, if we had some detailed, like, 200-page bill with, the ways to get about our goals here, that would cost a lot of money, right? That would be extra staff time doing the research. And we don't want to be the party that spends a bunch of money on bills that are destined to fail. We don't want to be the Republicans who pass 61 bills in the House trying to veto or override or repeal the Affordable Care Act, knowing full well that Obama wasn't going to revoke his signature piece of legislation.
Yeah, that's true, except I do think that there's one way in which it is worth doing the research and having those bills put together, even if they're not going to pass, which is when the right starts saying things like, you don't even have a plan to pay for this. That's when it's great to say, I do have a plan. I've already submitted it. It's resolution whatever. Take a look at it, and here's how we would pay for it. That is very powerful, and I don't think that that's a waste of time. But yes, generally speaking, the symbolic vote meme in the House and Senate is not something that's particularly productive for just average Americans around the world. A sort of early stage of space exploration is coming to an end because the Opportunity Mars rover has been officially declared dead by NASA. Now, it's been silent for the last 8 months. This is a solar-powered robot that's been on the surface of Mars for years. There was a huge dust storm on Mars, and the thing lost contact. It went silent. It lost contact with NASA. And the mission is now being declared complete. The rover's mission is now declared complete. And it is indeed because the rover is dead. But it was there for almost a decade and a half. I still vaguely remember when this thing landed, although it is pretty far back in my memory. A great track record, Pat, a long project, countless terabytes, I don't even know how much, of valuable information sent back, but we're closing the chapter on this piece.
Yeah, helped us discover water on Mars. That's a success, I would say. And if you're upset about this, we still, of course, have the Curiosity rover that was launched into space. What was it, maybe 6-7 years ago at this point? I say that we deliver here on the bonus show a moment of silence for this rover because it did a lot of great work, and I think it deserves it.
Yeah, and the water stuff is what gets the most attention. That kilometer thick, the kilometer thick sort of cap. I don't even know the right word for it, but we reported on it at the time. But a lot of other important information sent back by the Opportunity rover related to the Martian atmosphere or lack thereof, the makeup of the Martian surface, and so many other things. And you know, I know that there are debates over how far are we from really getting a more significant presence on Mars, whether that means people or not, we can debate. And there's not agreement as to when that's going to happen. Is it 3 years from now? Is it 10 years from now? Will it not happen for longer than that? But at this point, it seems pretty clear, Pat, that Mars is, in a sense, the next frontier for space exploration, in addition to the stuff that's going on with mining and redirecting asteroids.
Yeah, I don't know what else would be the next frontier. Maybe we would want to go back to the moon first before going to Mars. There are certainly suitable moons around Jupiter that we could target, but those are, of course, farther away. So I think Mars is the next destination for us.
I think that there is no question that at some point we are going to get there. When will it be? I really don't know. Not with Mars One, which declared bankruptcy, as we talked about. There's a naming controversy in a less likely place, not in the southeast of the United States, but in Marin County, California, where the Dixie School District in San Rafael is now causing problems. There is a fight that is taking place at a series of school board meetings, including one a couple of days ago, where 13 different names have been proposed to change the name Dixie because of its connection to the slave-owning South and pre-Civil War America. And for now, the board voted down every single one of those 13 alternatives, and it remains the Dixie School District. And one last-ditch submission after the first 13 were voted down was the Sojourner Truth School District. And that one may be voted on at some point in the next 40 days. And this is a little bit of a different thing here than what we often see with statues of or to monuments to Civil War leaders. This is going to be something that will continue to be a debate, not only about the sort of Civil War Union versus Confederacy stuff, but also about just the internal dynamics of San Rafael and Marin County in California because of the name's historical significance there. I wonder, Pat, I am not telling anybody what they should do. I just wonder, what is the limit with the renaming controversies? How far removed from straight up monuments to slavery should we be pursuing in terms of name changes? I don't know the answer. I'm asking. I'm not asking rhetorically. I actually don't know how far we should be going with this.
Well, I think the reason why this one is so difficult is because Dixie has multiple definitions. Like, if it was just referring to the southern part of the United States, I think that would be acceptable, of course. It also could refer to any state below the Mason-Dixon line. Okay, now we're starting to get into bad waters there. It also can refer to, and I think this is the most acceptable common definition, the states that seceded from the Union, the Confederate States. And if that's the definition of Dixie that is the most prominent one, I think that they should get rid of the name, because that's not a period of our history that we want to be celebrated and have schools named after.
This may go on for much longer because this has actually been an issue in Marin County for 20 years off and on. And now, in the age of it being very easy to know all over the country or world what's going on in Marin County, it is sort of fueling a bigger reaction and people from different parts of the country weighing in. You've got people from the Southeast who are talking about heritage and history and all of this other stuff. You have people from the Northeast who are increasingly of the mindset that, as Pat is pointing out, it references a very ugly phase, era, and part of American history, and we should get rid of it. I don't know how far it's going to go. I also wonder, like, if I was living there, would I feel very invested in spending a lot of time trying to influence this? I don't know. It's hard to imagine because I've just never been in a situation where this was being discussed. There's all of the Yawkey stuff here in Boston, Pat, but I don't know of anything else that's even remotely similar.
Yeah, and I don't really care too much about what things are named. Like, I understand people love to uphold traditions and there's legacy value, and, you know, maybe they went to the Dixie school when they were young and now they're proud that their children go to the Dixie school now and they like all that stuff. But personally, I don't really mind if you change the name of something. It's not that important to me.
Yeah, I also don't find people who say things are lost when you change the names. With a lot of these, I don't really know what we're losing. I mean, okay, we're losing a monument to someone who was fighting for the side that wanted slaves. Like, it's in a sense, you're literally losing something. But are you losing anything important in terms of, I mean, we remember the Civil War. We remember why it was fought. I don't know. I don't think we're really losing that much.
I call those participation trophies. The Confederate flag, the Confederate monuments, all that stuff.
Yeah. Send me your thoughts about Marin County, about Dixie School District. That does it for today. We'll be back with a new program, brand new, tomorrow.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.